My ex-husband, Peter Matt, is a financial criminal, and this channel is all about the corruption case he has us enmeshed in. But as a result of that, I've shared another video where every aspect of my life is turned upside down. Either the judges that he's involved with have garnished things, or in this case, my Intuit account, he has some company under my name in there, or I wouldn't say Peter put it there. There is a company called M-Mass California Inc. that I know nothing about, that Intuit, I guess it's probably connected to my social security number. I'm sure Peter opened it to launder money. I explained it there. That sounds random, but my ex-husband's a money launderer. That's why I testified about him, and that's why I use the word criminal. It's not like a joke. But I haven't talked about my ex-husband's Nazi relatives because I really didn't think they were relevant. I mean, sometimes I thought, well, there's all these law enforcement people around me, maybe there's some German aspect, because Peter is not American. He's a German national. And I was trying to get him deported because he was hurting our children and hurting me, and I failed. But so I thought Merrick Garland was building a case. I think the people building the case thought they were too, but Garland buried it. And I don't know if it will, so I don't know if federal law enforcement will ever exist again. I have not seen a credible reason to believe that cases like mine would be prosecuted. So before I get into the specifics of Peter's Nazi background, he doesn't have a Nazi background. Peter represented himself to be very anti-racist. He had lived in Ghana. He did an African dance at our wedding. It sounds weird, but it was really good. So he lived in Ghana. But the first time I visited his family in Germany, I went to visit my friend Tamara, who was building the Palm Jewish Museum of Culture. So it was clear that I wasn't into people who don't like Jewish people. So, and Peter's never been racist or represented Nazi tendencies, but he's German, and both of his grandfathers were. And I don't usually judge people by their family. But when we got married, of course, I did ask, do you have any money that was through like illegal actions or anything? And he said no. I did believe him. I think that's naive now. I was a kindergarten teacher working in Harlem when I met him at a Catholic mission school. I am good at math, but I'd never worked at a bank. I didn't know anything about finance. I think I had my first credit card when I met him, and it wasn't even a credit card. It was like the store credit card you buy to take out a little bit and pay back every month, because that's what the books tell you to do, because I always did what the books tell you to do. One thing that came to mind, this does sound weird, but Peter, when I met him, he was an associate at Citibank, and that is not a high position. So I literally would never have thought anyone high up that he worked with, above managing director, certainly, I wouldn't have thought that they even ever met him. And I still don't know that that's the case. But the person he worked for, who he admired, was Stan Fischer, who was the central banker of Israel. I think it's a coincidence, but I know it sounds really weird. It's also weird. I don't know. He got his job at Citibank because he had been in management school, and he interned at a company in Mexico. And he told me that it was the company that his mom had worked at before she got married. And that made sense to me, because I know I worked for businesses owned by people, and it made sense. Oh, later on your kid might get an internship for them or something. I just know that the reason that he got hired at Citibank, where he was in the infrastructure group under Stan Fischer, was that Citibank liked that he had ties to this company in Mexico. And as a Catholic teacher in Harlem, I thought, that makes sense. And I thought he was really working for income too. So I thought a lot of things. That's the funny thing about being from the working class, you assume that people actually work for money. So I assumed because Peter went to an office every day that was how he made money. He made an effort to make me think that was the source of his income. So that was it. Because that's a problem when you marry someone and then you can't feed your children because all of a sudden they're not really into income. But then I was also thinking about the fact that he worked at a Mexican company that Citibank liked because a state attorney who opened an account when Peter was liquidating money to buy a company in Orange County. So we bought our company on April Fool's Day of 2009, and Maria Otero opened her business, which is associated with my name in QuickBooks, and QuickBooks won't let me get rid of it because of federal law enforcement, I'm sure. But when she opened that, it was in February in Los Angeles, so a couple months before us. And but I just was, her background says that she's an estate attorney from Switzerland, but I just thought perhaps Maria Otero also could have ties to Mexico. I don't know. I don't know anything about her. I called her and she said that it was her company, but it has nothing to do with me, even though Intuit still has me listed as a primary user and won't let me remove my name. But the money that Peter had when I married him, I thought he was earning money working at a bank because I was from the working class and that's just how we earn money. But he had gotten money from an aunt and he used it to get his basically American residency, but to go to graduate school. And he burned through a lot of it just being a dilettante on a Greek beach. Oh, that was what inspired him to be an investment banker. He realized he could be rich on a Greek bank, but then he met people on yachts and he realized he could be really rich working at an investment bank. Yeah, that doesn't sound great because I married him after he said that. So that reflects my maturity at the time, 20 years ago. And the fact that I really, really, really wanted to have a baby and I didn't think anyone else would marry me. But I didn't want to commit financial crimes. That wasn't my goal when I met him. So when I talked to him about him not having Nazi money, he said the money that he had came from an aunt. And again, I didn't know anything about finance. He said that she got it working, she was German, working at an investment bank, doing a lot of business in Japan. Now, one thing makes sense, like if you think about the economy in post-war Japan and Germany, you just sort of have to, stand in a river of wealth, very rapidly growing. So you could see how someone could very rapidly grow wealth. What I didn't question, and I question now, because I naively thought, I think like most people, when I think of Japan in the 1950s, I don't think, oh, that's a place where they were really progressive on gender. But I know in Germany, I think to some extent, like America, women in the 50s could have executive jobs if they didn't have families. And this woman was not married and she didn't have children. That's why Peter got money. And so I guess I had thought that she had some sort of accounting job or something like that. But it makes less sense now because I understand investment bankers who get to start on third base and make those millions, they usually bring capital. So when I was at this training, I remember one of the MDs stood up and made a big deal of us all, toasting one of the associates in my program who was so good at his job that he already had brought in $7 million. So he was already above quota. And it was because, he's from Texas and one of his dad's oil friends just moved money over to a money market account or whatever. And he was on target. And I didn't know that then. Now I know that's kind of how investment banks work. So to make millions of dollars in the 50s, you kind of wonder where the capital came from. Again, even knowing all that, I never thought it would make my case serious. I'm going to sound like a bitch, but I worked at an investment bank. So I've seen lots of different amounts of money, and I know, looking at IRS cases that they care about. I didn't think, for example, Peter's family would be high profile because most of the cases are above $20 million. And he never gave me any reason to understand his dad would have more than $5 million, which is a lot of money and a lot of cheating and a lot of privilege. But it's not the kind of money that people are investigating back and forth overseas and trying to track down Nazis for. Usually, maybe he just misrepresented the access to capital that their family had. The reason I thought of that is because this account that Maria Otero opened that's associated with me and I can't remove, it has activity. I tried everything to close it. I tried to cancel everything. And they have a new invoice from April 6th. And one of the payments was for Art Pro services. And I Googled it to see if that was a term I didn't understand, but it's usually professional art services, like moving art and stuff. So then I thought, oh, Nazis. But it's speculative. And I did divorce the guy. But I just feel like if anyone knows connections or reasons and wants to let me know why a case was started that has caught my family and won't stop, I would like to know.